Amazing. Right, here we go then. So, how to overcome negative body image. Very popular topic this day and age that we live in. It is becoming more and more popular with younger people, especially. And I'm talking primary school children, which is quite scary. So, I've got my own personal experience with this, which I'm going to kind of cover briefly. Now, I'm not going to say that I've got some kind of magic wand that's going to take away any negative body image that you currently have. Or maybe even if you've kind of struggled with it in the past and you're still wanting to kind of absolutely nail it on the head, sometimes it's something that never ever goes away. And again, I do blame society today and how we deal with things. Today, I do want to look at some kind of practical strategies that you can try and implement, try and take away and have a go at. Things that I've trialed, some of them I haven't trialed, but I can definitely talk for some of them from personal experience that have really helped me, especially in the past. So, practical strategies that you can take away, have a go at over the coming weeks and see if they help for you. It'd be nice to kind of have a little bit of feedback as well and see if it's something that's really helped. But just looking at a kind of more positive, I like to say healthier mindset around how you actually see yourself. Now, why this topic? Why does this topic kind of really touch with me and my coaching? For one, if I speak about the coaching side and people on the team, it's actually been brought up in conversation. Now, why this topic for me? Because I have experienced this myself, going right back to my teens. I was nearly hospitalized and diagnosed with anorexia, which was a very, very hard thing to overcome. And I guess there's still traits that stick in my head that sometimes I have to kind of shut away. But I do strongly, strongly feel that bodybuilding saved my life. And it's something that is very, very personal to me. This is why when this came up in conversation with people on the team, I thought, you know what, this would make a very, very good topic to talk about. Now, the impact of negative body image is endless. It has a very broad spectrum of attachments to it, if you like. We can look at the emotional side, we can look at the behavioral side and things that you may do that are really affecting you from day to day. And not only that, the actual physical effects that it has as well. And we're going to touch upon some of these. Now, I wanted to clarify body dysmorphia and negative body image because they often get compared, but and they are very closely linked, but they are not the same thing. Now, if you go onto the NHS website, you will clearly see information on there about body dysmorphia because it is a mental health condition. And I've just put there a bit of a kind of overview of both of them. Now, negative body image is just a general sense of sometimes throughout the week, maybe not every day, you'll just have this kind of dissatisfaction with your appearance. Whereas body dysmorphia is very, very consuming. And I'm talking, it affects you at work, it affects you from day to day, it affects you when you're with your friends, it affects you when you're socializing with family. It can be very consuming and tiring. And it's when you kind of get obsessive and you fixate over certain flaws that you feel you have in your appearance. And like I say, when it starts affecting day-to-day life, including things like work, it can be very highly linked to body dysmorphia. And this is where I'm going to, at the end, I'm just going to kind of link you to a couple of directions where if you feel this is you, then it would be worth seeking some kind of further support. But there is definitely a difference. Now, the impact of just general negative body image, we can look at the emotional side of it, things like anxiety, low self esteem, low self confidence, even to the point of depression. It can take people to that element. The behavioral impact, where you start avoiding social events because you don't like how you look in any outfit that you've put on out of your wardrobe. You start turning to excessive exercise, thinking you've got to be hammering the cardio because of how you feel you look. So it starts affecting your behavior and how you act from day to day or across the week. You might obsessively start checking yourself. I used to do this certain thing that I'm quite embarrassed to speak about it really, but I feel maybe it's something I've not spoke about a lot. maybe I should open up a bit more about my own experience. But I used to constantly check my lower belly, and I used to kind of pull the belly fat of it when I was young. And I'm talking 15, 16 years old. And I have very, very vivid memories of doing that. And it really affected me literally daily. So the way you behave can be a really big impact and an umbrella term for the negative body image. The physical impact is it starting to affect your sleep? Now, that could have a knock on effect from the one above. So, things like if you're excessively exercising, put a lot of strain on your body. If you're avoiding social events and things like that, that's going to have an impact kind of mentally, which will tire you out, which will actually affect your sleep. So you're obviously driving up cortisol there. You're creating a stress response on your body. And then we start to see kind of disordered eating patterns when that can start creeping in. Negative body image affects the quality of life, not just your confidence. So, as I said, if it starts becoming an issue day to day, hourly, where it starts really consuming everything you do, then it might be that you do have BDD. And that's where you might want to kind of seek extra help from somewhere else. Obviously, I am not a professional within that area. I'm mainly talking here from kind of my own experience. But things like self-harm can even cross into this, which obviously when it starts getting to that point, that is a very serious, serious issue. Now, root causes. And some of you might be sat here with experience of this. I can definitely speak from bullet point number 3, past experience, family comments, teasing at school, the environment that you're in, weight focused environments. If you think about things like Weight Watchers, for example, when you go to a Weight Watchers meeting, not that I've ever been to one, but just speaking from what people have told me that have joined the team in the past, it's all weight driven. And there may be some of you sat here now that's experienced a similar group where we don't look at things like your photographs, how your clothes are fitting, measurements. It's all just weight driven. That can really, really affect how you start looking at things. And I can speak from a couple of people that are sat here now on this call where you know full well we've been doing a lot of work around you having a bit more of a positive look on the scale weight because it's not all about the scale weight. Social media is a big one that I'm going to come across tonight and talk about. It's probably one of the biggest at the minute, and that links closely into the comparison culture that we live in. We're constantly comparing against other people. Now, there's nothing wrong with comparing. It's actually a natural human trait that we do. But when it starts to affect how you see yourself in a very negative way, that's when we have a problem. You can look at someone and compare and look up to them and be inspired by them to motivate you more. But when it starts consuming you, to the previous slides, like what I've just covered, that's when it starts to get very consuming and it can start to become quite a problem. We've also got to think about genetics as well. Like you can't compare yourself to the next person who may have genetics in a certain body part, for example. Some people will be able to grow their glutes better than their shoulders, or some people will be able to grow their quads more than their back. Genetics is also going to be an influence on certain people's body shape. So you've got to remember that it's not always about the lifestyle that they're living. Now, these are my top 9 strategies. Some of them I will just kind of cover over briefly. The slide in itself just says it all. There's a couple towards the end. I think it's number 7 and 8, maybe 8 and 9 that I've gone into a little bit more detail, and I could have gone into even more detail. But again, you might want to go back and have a read over these. So these are my 9 strategies to try and help overcome any maybe negative body image that you are suffering with at the minute. Number 1, framing your thoughts. So I've put here, this is a CBT strategy, cognitive behavior therapy strategy that's used quite often. Catch, challenge, and change. So negative thoughts, they're kind of learned patterns. They're not always the truth. So how you're looking at something within your own body image, you've got to catch that thought and you've got to challenge it. and then you've got to change it. And this is one that really, really worked with me. So I've just put an example there. Catch the thought, notice what that thought is. So, for example, oh my God, I look disgusting today. Challenge how accurate that thought is. Is it because it's been sparked from maybe an argument that you've had with your partner? Is it because you've had a really shit day at work and then you're just looking at yourself in the mirror thinking, oh God, I just look absolutely vile? And then change it. Try and replace it with something, a thought that it's a little bit more balanced, that you are being hard on yourself. It's just because you've had a really bad day at work, something's happened, and then you're starting to take that out on yourself and you're looking at yourself in a more negative way. It's a really good one. Like I said, I can talk from experience. It's something that I've used in the past and it really, really does work. So that might be one major strategy you might take from today's session. Number two, body neutrality and just removing that pressure to kind of love your appearance. Focus on what your body actually does for you rather than how it looks. One thing that will cross over quite a bit today is, especially those of you sat here now on the team, if we're going through a dieting phase compared to a muscle building phase, they're very different. And although we're not going to take your body fat levels extremely high, you are going to feel a little bit uncomfortable at times. But you've got to remember it's only short term, and you're doing it for a reason. So try and focus on your body giving you a really strong leg session that day, or you've gone into a back session and you've hit PBs across the board because you're on more food and you've got slightly higher body fat levels. You've got to try and reframe how you see that neutral body. And I've just put a couple of examples there, and I've gone through a couple as well. And just like I say, just reframing how you look at the body from a neutral perspective. Number three, self-compassion. Most of us speak to ourselves critically. We tend to live in a society where we look at the negative straight away. When I used to be a teacher, I used to look at the secondary school kids that I worked with, and they would always pick out something negative about their artwork before the positives. And it just seems to be the day and age we live in. I do find though that people that I kind of speak with or work with, it seems to be worse in this country than other countries. Not quite sure why. It might be worth reading up on that. But we do tend to look at the negatives rather than the positives. So I've just put an example here. Replace that negative voice with a bit of compassion. Talk to yourself like you would a friend. Like, you're not going to go up to a friend and say, oh my God, you look absolutely terrible today. Some of you might do, but you won't look, oh my God, you look disgusting today. It's not something that you would generally say. That is a really harsh voice. If you're looking at more the compassionate alternative, I'm just having a tough day today. It's okay. You're looking at it in a different perspective, a different angle. So self-compassion is another really, really popular strategy that you could use. Environment shifts. The environment you surround yourself with is a huge one. And I find that as I go through these, I mean, I'm on number 4 now and I've only done 9 on the list. There was many, many more that I could have covered. I feel like they get more and more relevant and more important as I go through these. So the environment, if we think about online and real life influencers, what you consume yourself with daily can really, really have a huge impact. I mean, you hear about things like comments, people say, surround yourself with positive vibes and positive people because it really makes a difference on how you feel about yourself. A big one here, unfollow accounts that make you feel shit. I've said it before, like you can look at people on the internet, influencers that you follow, other people that you follow, but if it has a positive impact, then fair enough. But if you're looking at an account online and you feel worse when you look at that account, even when you've self-reflected and think, well, why do I look worse when I feel worse when I look at that account, when I look at that person, just unfollow it. Unfollow it. And it might seem harsh, but if it makes you feel better about your own body image, surely that means more than staying on that person's account and following what they're doing. And follow accounts on the positive of that. And the flip side, follow accounts that do make you feel positive. Follow those people that you look up to, but in a positive way, and you don't feel worse when you look at their content. Set boundaries with people. And you know what? Friends and family as well. people who comment on weight and appearance. I've worked with a couple of people. There's a lady that I remember very well, and it still pops in my head today. And she's not with me anymore on the team, but she used to get comments from a colleague at work that she was in a dieting phase, and they used to just say how worse she looked, even though she felt so much better about herself and lower body fat levels, and she felt she looked really toned. She was getting comments from people at her workplace that were bigger than her, that were making comments that made her feel very uncomfortable. So if you can and you're in a position to, try and set boundaries with people that are making them comments, because it isn't going to help you long term. And it all comes down to surrounding yourself, if you can, with that more positive vibe. Um, I've just put here, I would strongly encourage you to take note and notice on how you feel after consuming certain content online, especially. So if you view something and it makes you feel really bad, take note of it, but try and pinpoint the reason why. It could be something that's really, really kind of personal to you, or it could be, is it a bit of jealousy? It could be so many different factors, but try and take note and be a little bit more aware after tonight, after this session. Be a bit more aware on anything that might make you feel that way. Number five, healthy habits for a positive body relationship. Movement. Movement should be enjoyable. It shouldn't be a punishment. And I speak to you guys that have been with me for a very long time. You'll know that I always speak about Christmas, and I always send a video out to the team and just generally say, like, when you've eaten too much around Christmas, don't be punishing yourself the next day and hitting a shitload of cardio because you feel bad for it. Just get up, carry on your day, and just get straight back on plan as normal. You shouldn't be punishing yourself with exercise. And that's something I used to do when I was younger. My way of feeling in control when I was anorexic was hitting myself with more cardio, hitting myself with more output. And it didn't become enjoyable. It was more, I've got to punish myself with this exercise today. Even going out for a walk, like that should be enjoyable. It shouldn't be a case of I've got to go out for a walk because I'm punishing myself for eating that bagel and hot chocolate that I had at the Christmas market or whatever it might be. Eating consistently, it does stabilize your mood. So if you're eating regularly throughout the day, it will improve your mood and how you look at yourself, but it also reduces that kind of obsessive thinking about yourself and that negativity that you've got going on about your own body image. The same with rest and sleep. If you feel tired, anyone now, obviously don't kind of speak up on the video, but just pass this through your head now. When you're tired or think of a past experience where you've been absolutely knackered, have you looked at yourself in a more negative way? Because I can put my hand up and say 100% yes. And hopefully, some of you can relate to that. So, when you are a lot more fatigued, you do tend to look at yourself in a more negative body image. Number six, clothing. Clothing, and I've just put there bullet point number four. If you are in a building phase, wear comfy clothes and remind yourself of the short-term commitment of why you are currently a little bit heavier than when you are in a dieting phase. Look at the positives. You feel more kind of empowered and stronger. Maybe you're a little bit more curvy than when you are in a dieting phase. Wearing clothes that fit now does boost your confidence. So if you've got clothes that are kind of hanging off you, that will probably boost your confidence, that you're thinking, wow, I have actually made some progression in this fat loss phase. So think about how you are dressing, because that can make a huge, huge difference on your body image, especially if you're a little bit heavier than when you're in a dieting phase. Wear something that makes you feel a little bit more kind of sexier, a bit more empowered when you're in the gym, not just wearing little crop tops that you would normally if you are in a dieting phase. Number seven, this one I've covered a couple of slides on this because it's quite a huge one. I have covered generally about comparing. It is a natural automatic human thing to do, but you can interrupt it if you feel it's starting to take over in a bad way. And it's called the pullback technique. So when you start comparing, just pause acknowledge it, but then try and shift the attention. Okay, and I've just put a couple of strategies and examples on the next slide. But just a reminder that people's bodies are shaped by genetics, hormones, life experiences. You don't know if that's something that they do for a job and they can go and spend however long they want in the gym. Maybe they're doing it because they're getting paid because they're influencers that have got a hell of a lot of thousands of followers on Instagram and they get paid for that. Okay, so just remember social media is only 1% of someone's life. You don't actually know what is going on behind the scenes. So, pullback technique, just as a kind of example here, pause, notice the moment. Okay, notice the moment when you are comparing, acknowledge it. Think about why that is happening. So, for example, there I'm comparing myself because I'm feeling a little bit insecure at the minute. I'm feeling a bit tired. I'm feeling a bit disconnected with myself. There will always be a reason why, but acknowledge that reason. A lot of people just try and ignore why they're feeling that way and why they are comparing negatively, and then pull back. Try and move that focus from that person you're looking at and comparing, move it to you. What do you need to do to make yourself feel better? How can you control that? And what emotion is actually triggering that thought and that comparison that you're making? I've just mentioned again here social media just because it is such a big thing that I'm finding at the minute where people are really comparing on social media. Look at what people do. We're all culprits of just putting the best things on social media. It's very rare people will put the shit things on. I follow a couple of people, a couple of coaches actually that will they'll pose and then they'll do a normal pose where they might be showing cellulite on their glutes. Things like that are things that you may need to kind of follow to help you understand and relate, but also make you feel better. If you're following people that are just kind of putting the best on all the time, but it's starting to have a negative impact on you, it's the negativity and that impact that you may need to then kind of come away from that. Things like filters. I follow someone that uses a filter all the time. Doesn't mean that it has a negative impact on me personally, but for someone else, it might do. So think about what other people are doing. And if it starts impacting you in a very negative perspective, then that's when you need to kind of take note. And I've just put here, influencers often take a lot of photos, 200 photos just to post one of them. And some of us have been culprits of doing that. I've done that myself. I've taken five, six pictures and thought, oh, which one can I use? Which one's the best angle? And it's bad, really, but it's something that is reality. And I've just put there, their income depends on appearing perfect. There's a lot of people you may follow that, like I say, get paid to just be on social media and it's their job. Do an audit. I've done this recently. I've cleared out a load of friends or what I thought were friends on social media, Facebook, Instagram, etc. I've unfollowed accounts that triggered me personally. Um, and the opposite to that as well, kind of follow people that you feel are more inspiring to you in a positive way. And don't fall into that doom scrolling when you're feeling crap about yourself. That's probably the worst thing that you could do. Number 8, mindfulness helps detach from negative body thoughts. This can be in the form of journaling. Some of you on this call now, I know full well you journal because you've showed me the evidence. Breathing techniques, and there's many more mindfulness techniques as well. I've spoken about that before on when I've done a webinar on stress. Journaling can really, really help though. A bit of a grounding example, kind of notice 5 things. So if you're feeling you're in that wrapped up body negative thought, just detach yourself from it and just suddenly just sit there and think of 5 things you can hear, smell, touch, and it just pulls you out of that focus of drilling into the negativity. Journaling prompts, think about why you're actually feeling that way about a certain body thought. What does your body need to do right now? What do you need to do right now? So it's just being more mindful and accepting it and acknowledging, which is what a lot of people don't do. Function over appearance. I've generally mentioned this in a couple of the pointers in previous slides, but body appreciation doesn't mean like loving every part of your body. There's body parts I don't like, and some of you'll be thinking, yeah, but Katie, look at kind of how you compete and you get on stage in front of people judging your body. Yes, but there's still parts of my body I don't like. It's normal for us all, but like I say, it's when it starts taking over. It doesn't mean that you've got to pretend you like how you look. It doesn't. And that's why the majority of you are sat here now on the team because you're wanting to improve your body composition. You're wanting to change how you look and feel about yourself. It just means shifting that focus from how you look to the function of it, body appreciation. So, like I said, if you are in a typical example would be if you are in a building phase, look at how strong you are in sessions. Enjoy the amount of food you're on because it ain't going to last forever. Because at some point, you're going to have to diet again. So, look at what your body is actually doing for you, not necessarily on how it looks. Appreciate your body for what it is. Function over appearance example, I've just put here focusing on, for example, you might say something like, oh God, my thighs look really big and fat today. Shift that pattern, shift that phrase. Think about, oh, these legs have got me through a leg session today. They're feeling strong. I'm feeling strong. They got me a PB on the leg press. They got me a PB on the squat machine today. So just try and think about the function of your body, not just how it is looking. A little bit more here. I've generally touched on that. I'm going to just skip past that one because I have covered that over what I've spoke about with function over appearance. A couple of action steps then. So daily, create a bit of a daily routine. Morning, it might be that you write down something in a journal, or you might just say something positive about yourself. Afternoon, you might just try and clear your mind. If you're starting to feel a bit negative, you might just go for a little walk, or you might just switch off from your phone, put your phone to one side and do 10-minute walk on the walking pad. Limit your screen time before bed because on an evening is when we kind of sit and start reflecting more. You might start feeling more emotional on an evening. Then you'll turn to your phone for some kind of gratification, but then that tends to make you feel worse. Weekly reflections. I've just put some examples here, wins, challenges, and plans to move forward. For example, you've unfollowed that account. That could be a win for you this week. You followed someone for a very long time that's made you feel quite bad and it's triggered something within you, but you've finally unfollowed that person this week. So just a couple of strategies there. And then when to seek further help and support, which I mentioned, if you feel that it's some red flags here, if you feel like it's really starting to take over your life, your social life, your relationship with your exercise, your confidence, how you function on a daily basis, and your eating habits, there is no shame in just seeking some further support. And it doesn't mean go and find a therapist. It may be that you just need to take a couple of steps back and think of some of the strategies that we've gone through tonight. You might even be able to find support groups on Facebook. That's quite popular. Or, as I've put there, coaching. Most of you sat here tonight are with me already, but I know there's some people on this call tonight that may not be working with anyone, but you might just need that reassurance and some guidance. Just one question I wanted to kind of leave you with before I wrap up is what situations trigger negative body image thoughts for you? And it's something I want to kind of leave you on and take away and think, what really triggers me? Is it just something personal that you know you need to change yourself with regards to maybe you're unhappy with how your back looks in that backless dress? Is it that some of you, for men that's on the team, maybe you're not happy with how your arms look when you're in a vest in the summer or a short sleeve t-shirt? Or is it external factors, things like social media, maybe a comment that someone's made in your family, maybe a friend has made a negative comment towards you, and that's something that is a trigger? This is where you need to look at the strategies we've covered tonight. And lastly, just to finish, 4 core takeaways. So just looking at the fact that negative body thoughts most of the time are not facts. They are something you are creating in your own mind. And that's really important. Unless you can back it up with evidence, it is 9 times out of 10 just a thought that you are creating. You can reframe how you are thinking about yourself. That conversation you're having inside your own head, you can reframe it. Okay. And this is why I've covered the strategies that I have this evening. Body neutrality. removes that pressure. So, like I've said, just try and look at how your body functions and what it's doing in an actual neutral ground rather than how it's looking is a really, really good one to look at. And then for me, the environment you surround yourself in is huge. Negatively, it is a huge factor. And if you have to start making some changes to your own environment and it's really taking over you with regards to negative body image, it might be something you seriously have to sit back and consider. Friends, family, work, everything around you, even the gym that you are in. I know a couple of people on the team that have had to change gyms recently because the environment is just so negative and so consuming. It's starting to affect them as a person. So I've just put there, try and trial at least one strategy that I've gone through today in this webinar. And if there's any questions that any of you have got, I know it's quite a heavy topic, and I haven't done a heavy topic like this for a long time. But I've managed to get that done in half an hour. So hopefully you've taken a lot from this. If any of you have got any questions and you want to reach out personally, then please do. For anyone who's not on the team, and you won't have my number, I'm more than happy for you to reach out on social media if you want a further chat. Thank you so much, everyone who has turned up tonight. I will fire this over in the group chat for everyone. Okay, thank you.